Hello one and all, and welcome to another mega slugfest on Grudge Match Unlimited, the show that takes the most powerful from across the fictional realms and lets them throw down in one-on-one competition. Today's match sees two of the most infamous and epically powerful baddies of all time pit their skills against one another. From the mind of George Lucas and Star Wars universe, the Dark Lord of the Sith, Darth Vader, against J.K. Rowling's evil wizard and master of the Death Eaters, Lord Voldemort. These two characters do come from very different realms of fiction, with Darth Vader being on the sci-fi and futuristic high-technology end of the spectrum, whereas Lord Voldemort harkens more back to sorcery and more old-school classical fantasy, but they do have a lot in common, both being at one time thought to be prodigies of the realms of good in their respective universes, but slid one way or another to the dark side, and ultimately became the ultimate practitioners of the dark arts, and also both coming up against a future young master who they had a somewhat connection with that ultimately ended up defeating them. Taking a look at Darth Vader first created in 1977 for the premiere Star Wars movie. Real name of Anakin Skywalker. The story of Darth Vader is that he was a prodigy in the Jedi arts, discovered on the backwater planet of Tatooine and taken by the Jedi Masters Qui-Gon Jinn and Obi-Wan Kenobi to be trained as a Jedi because of a prophecy that foretold of a master of the Force who would bring balance to the entire universe. They believed it to be Anakin Skywalker and took him and trained him to be a Jedi, and he became the most powerful Jedi that had ever been known. He had many trials and tribulations as a Jedi, fought in the Clone Wars, and eventually became an apprentice to the High Chancellor of the Galactic Senate, Chancellor Palpatine, who was secretly the Dark Emperor and master of the dark side of the Force. And eventually he turned fully to the dark side of the Force in an effort to save the love of his life, Queen Padme, but didn't work out. She died anyway, which fully pushed him to the dark side. As Darth Vader, Anakin Skywalker is the master of the dark side of the Force, as well as being extremely proficient in all of the techniques of the light side of the Force as well. This gives him power of telepathy, extremely powerful telekinesis, the ability to push people or crush them just with a wave of his hand, as well as increasing his physical skills and lightsaber mastery. He is an unchallenged master of lightsaber dueling. Also, because of the extensive damage his body has taken in his final fight with Obi-Wan Kenobi, he has been given a variety of cybernetic enhancements which all increase his strength and durability. Originally, these cybernetic additions were a hindrance to his speed and agility, slowing him down significantly, but eventually he learned to use the Force to increase his speed and agility even further. So though he looks quite heavy and bulky, he's still incredibly fast, incredibly swift and agile, while being incomparably strong and more than a match for any other lightsaber wielder. Lord Voldemort from the Harry Potter book series, originally created by J.K. Rowling in 1997. Lord Voldemort's name was originally Tom Riddle, and he grew up as a half-blooded wizard, parentage of a magic-using witch and a muggle father. He was taken to the Hogwarts School of Wizarding and Magic and became the most prolific and prominent student therein. He became incredibly popular and received the highest marks in all of his classes, so he was a true magical prodigy, but he kept his darker ambitions secret. He was always a very sadistic, cold, and calculating individual, and eventually he left Hogwarts and went traveling the world, learning and developing more of his dark arts mastery, and eventually full-on becoming Lord Voldemort, the most evil wizard who's ever lived in the Harry Potter universe. And he developed a cult of wizards and witches who followed him, known as the Death Eaters, who were very powerful in their own right, and he started a war for control of the entire magical realms. Eventually, he was defeated when he tried to use the death curse on the family of Harry Potter, and he managed to kill Harry Potter's parents, but their sacrifice caused the death curse to backfire and destroyed him. However, through his use of Horcruxes, items that allowed him to bond his soul to a object and keep it in the physical realms, he was able to come back several times throughout the entire book series. Lord Voldemort is unparalleled in his mastery of magic. He most specifically likes to use the death curse, but that is certainly not the only thing he is limited to. Like all the wizards and witches in the Harry Potter universe, there's just an immense variety of different spells and abilities that one can use their magical skills to accomplish. And he is right at the top in terms of magical ability and sorcery. So practically anything he wants to do, there is some kind of spell, potion, or something in order to accomplish it. So an incredibly versatile power set for Lord Voldemort. So having taken a look at these two characters' personal stories, back histories, and power sets, it's time to determine who would win if they were to ever collide in one-on-one competition. That winner's going to be Darth Vader. Now, while Lord Voldemort does have a wider array of abilities in terms of the things his magic can accomplish, there's a few things that need to be mentioned that would come up in the fight. For one, as with most all of the magic practitioners in the Harry Potter universe, Lord Voldemort is very reliant on his wand in order to accomplish most of his magical feats. Most magicians in the Harry Potter universe, if they are removed from their wand, they lose it for one reason or another, it practically cuts off their ability to wield magic at all. That's not exactly the case with Lord Voldemort. He can still wield some magical skills even without his wand, most notably telekinesis and the ability to move things with his mind, but certain other abilities as well. But his powers are extremely diminished if he does not have his wand to utilize. Now, Darth Vader, with his control of the Force, has the ability of telekinesis himself, and has been seen on more than one occasion to pull weapons out of the hands of his enemies. If he can use the Force to pull a blaster out of Han Solo's hands when he's got a quite tight grip on it, it seems then Vader would certainly be able to use the Force to pull a wand out of Voldemort's hands, which would extremely diminish and limit Voldemort's capabilities of wielding magic. Additionally, even though Voldemort can do the same thing right back to Vader in pulling the lightsaber out of Vader's hand, Vader is still remarkably lethal even without the lightsaber. Just his basic physical skills and his mastery of the Force is enough to overcome most opponents. He's been seen on more than one occasion using the Force itself to crush his opponents or strangle them from afar. Now, whose power of telekinesis would be more powerful between the two? That could be a toss-up. But if those powers cancel each other out, and it might come to physical blows between the two of them, that certainly gives Vader the advantage with his cybernetic enhancements increasing his strength and durability. But even before Darth Vader would be able to remove the wand from Voldemort's hands, the main thing that Voldemort would most likely do in order to attack Vader is his favorite curse of all, the Death Curse. And one would have to imagine that this would actually not work against Darth Vader. Because of Darth Vader's suit, his cybernetic enhancements, one of the main things it does is keep him alive. It is primarily a life support system. Without it, his body would die very quickly anyway. So it's doubtful that the Death Curse would be able to actually kill Vader because his suit would keep him alive regardless of how much damage the Death Curse did to his physical body itself. And once Voldemort has thrown out that Death Curse, and that's his first move, then Vader's next move is probably going to be using the Force to pull the wand out of his hand, and then coming to blows or going in with his lightsaber to finish the job. So Darth Vader, Star Wars, and George Lucas is going to take home the win of this Grudge Match Unlimited. Message me down below, let me know what you think of the outcome of this fight, and as always, suggestions for future episodes. We'll see you next time on the next edition of Grudge Match Unlimited.